Hi friends, I'm Sherry and this is Gardening in the North, and today I want to share with you 3 different ways that I am trellising my tomatoes. So we are in my new garden, and for those of you that have been following along on our journey to build our forever home and garden, you know that this garden is much smaller than the current one that I have. And so I had to be really strategic on how I was going to plant all of the tomato plants that I wanted to plant here. And the reason for that is because I don't know if we're still gonna own our current home at the end of the season when it's time to harvest. So I had to make sure that I planted in both areas. And so I had to be really strategic here in this one. And after all of my research, I have come up with 3 different ways to trellis my tomatoes, and I want to share those with you. So if I just span over here, you'll see that I have 10 5-gallon buckets. And again, I had to be really strategic here. I had no space for these tomato plants, but really wanted to grow them. And so what I've done is I have attached T-posts to my perennial asparagus beds, and you can see here I've attached them right here at the top of the box, and then I've attached it at the bottom so that I could add this wire mesh. Now for those of you that live in Canada, you can purchase those wired mesh in the concrete aisle at your local hardware store, and they are around $22. Now I know that our American friends are going to be flabbergasted at paying $22 for a 7-foot wired mesh. However, arch trellises here, or cattle panels here in Canada, the lowest I have ever found them have been close to, I think, $80 to $90. And so $22 for a 7-foot trellis is pretty good. And so my idea here is to have this temporarily attached to the asparagus bed. I know that my asparagus, and you can kind of see one right here, the asparagus ferns are not going to be overly heavy this year. It's the first year that I've had them in there, so I know they're not going to shade out these tomato plants. And so the idea is that as they grow up taller, I will be able to attach them to this trellis here and pick my tomatoes. Now I am using this trellising system in some of my other boxes, so let's just take a quick look at that. Still, method number 1, buying those wired mesh panels and just attaching it permanently to your box. And so I have here some tomato plants that I am growing, and so it looks like they are just about reaching. Actually, this one over here needs to be tied up. Actually, the last 2 need to be tied up to the panels, but this is the first method. So purchasing these panels at your local hardware store and attaching them with T-posts. So let's take a look at the second method. This here is the second method. So attached to both of these boxes, I have cattle panels, and my idea is to grow tomato plants on the arch trellis. And so let's just take a look first to see which ones I'm going to be growing. So I have Blush Tiger, I have Juliet, and I have Solar Flare. And then on the other side, I am doing Chocolate Cherry, Yellow Pear, and Black Strawberry. And so the idea is just to have them kind of go wild and real natural and just climb up over the trellis and be able to walk underneath, walk up a side, and be able to pick them. So I have never grown tomatoes on an arch trellis. I thought that this would be really cool to do, and for you to follow along on any of the garden tours that I do to see how it's coming along. The third way that I am trellising my tomatoes is by placing this pipe that you see here. It's ABS. across from arch to arch. I have to move it over so that it's straight. I have to attach it still. I'm then going to run some twine to hang down from the pipe, and I'm going to anchor that twine into the soil that's in the box next to each tomato plant. I'm then going to clip each tomato plant onto the twine so that the tomato plants can grow up that twine. And so I'm just going to give you a peek here to see what we are growing on the trellises. So we have Paul Robson, and we have striped Roman, and we have Cherokee Purple. We also have Mortgage Lifter, and finally we have Kryptonite. Now I can see that Mortgage Lifter and Kryptonite probably should have already been clipped to the twine and should already be using this trellising method, but we've been quite busy with getting the house ready to sell and gardening in both locations, building a new chicken condo, and we were in a pickleball tournament, so we've been quite busy. Now, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to get this pipe attached to the trellis or the arch trellises, but I thought that you might want to share in this journey with me in case this is something that you want to try in your garden. So again, the ABS pipe may not be ideal, but you use what you have. So let's get started. I thought that I would share with you the supplies that I've brought with me today to do this project. So I have twine, just got it at the dollar store. I have some zip ties. I was thinking I might try to zip tie it to the arch trellis. I have to see if it's going to move too much. If it is, I might have to think of something else. I might have to drill a hole in it and then zip tie it through the hole through the arch trellis, but we'll see. So I also have these stakes here. These are landscaping fabric stakes. We didn't use them all when we put the fabric down here in the garden, so I have these. Again, use what you have. Don't be buying new stuff. I also have this lovely elastic type of rope that I thought I might use, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use this or I'm going to use the little hooks that I have. So last year I bought a whole bunch of these little plastic hooks that you can just put around the twine, around the plant. I think I'm going to try it out, see which one I like better, and then kind of go with it. So these are the supplies I have. I also did not bring scissors, so I am using an X-Acto knife. So you use what you have. Let's get going.
Lost again, going back around, dreaming of a time when I get things right. Lost in the shadows of a million stars. Shouldn't they enlighten my near and far? Shouldn't they at all just tell me where you are? Send a prayer if I'm out of luck. Send a little love and I'll make it back. Send me a letter and a bottle of wine, telling me I will be fine. Baby, I'm stuck with a halfway heart. Slip away if I come too far. Pick me up when I'm in pieces. Oh, that halfway heart of mine is a rolling stone. Make me roll right home. Halfway hard, halfway hard. Sing to me if I lose my voice. Set a better route if I lose.
Here here's a look at the final trellising system that I'm using in my garden this year. All installed, and it literally took me 10 minutes, if that. I attached 2 zip ties together. I went around the ABS pipe and around 2 parts of the arch trellis on either end, and it's pretty secure. And I think that once the tomato plants start putting pressure on that pipe, it's not going to go anywhere. So I think that that's going to work perfectly. Now, the twine that I used, I made a little extra long. The reason for that is I've never used this technique before. I'm not actually sure how much lax or how much room I should be leaving, and so I tied it at the bottom in a way that I can pull the end. It will release the tie that I've done and allow me to tighten it or loosen it depending on what I think that plant needs. And the third thing, I did use the plastic clips as you saw when I was installing them. I thought that that was probably best. I will keep an eye on it, because if the stalk gets too big, I don't want that clip to interfere with the stalk or cut that stalk off. And so I'll keep a lookout. I might need to replace them with some of that really stretchy rope that I have, or nylon rope that I have. So yeah, that's it. So those are my 3 trellising ideas. The first one is using the wired mesh. The second is using cattle panels. And the third is using ABS and twine to hold up the plants. Thanks for spending your time with me.